Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. I'm sitting here with my friend Gato once again because we went to the movies again. Although this time, nothing to do with Oklahoma. Say hi, Gato.
Hi, everybody.
But this time we went to see. The advantage to hanging out with Gato is that Gato so far has only gone with me to like Oscar type movies. So that helps expand my review horizons. Because if I was just sitting around by myself, I'd probably end up watching lots. You'd only hear about superhero movies and occasionally horror movies. I'm almost done with all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I just need to find a new Nightmare and watch it. Well, I should probably rewatch Freddy versus Jason also to get the full picture. But anyways, we saw Napoleon, and the short version of my review is just Napoleon, good at war, bad at sex. That that'll be my general statement.
There was a lot of awkward sex in that movie. I was not expecting that.
And like deliberately awkward sex too. Like like the sex in Napoleon is like borderline comedic. It's like like Napoleon just like and most of them he didn't even take his clothes off
Yeah,
before sex.
none of it. There was no tits in that movie.
There was yeah, no, like the most sex with the least nudity would be the description of that. Because like technically, like on a certain level, what is happening is actually very graphic for an R-rated movie, but like at the same time, not graphic because everyone is fully clothed. The implication is just that there is hardcore, rapid, almost dog-like sex happening. Ah, and like just like every time it's just you come back to Napoleon and he's just like slamming it like just like he's a dog humping like the corner of a couch. It's and then just like he awkwardly comes and falls over. And it's this is what the sex scenes are like in this movie. So like sometimes it kind of felt like Ridley Scott was making fun of Napoleon a lot at certain points. But like, yeah, no, Napoleon, bad at sex, good at war, mostly. So, Gato, what made you want to see Napoleon?
uh, just the idea of Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon sounded really weird to me, and I needed to see
Okay, from
it.
that perspective, how did the movie deliver?
It was kind of good.
Like, was he as weird as you thought he would be?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But Napoleon was probably weird, so
This movie implies that Napoleon was pretty weird. Like, just his general demeanor and attitude towards other people and everything. He was kind of a weird dude. Uh like the absolute worst of everything you could have in a leader though. Just like very like driven in the wrong ways. Like Hitler kind of fascistic. Declared himself worked his way up the political chain and then declared himself emperor. Uh and everyone around was just like, I thought this was a republic. Nope, we got an emperor. Oh, okay. But the movie basically tells most of the life of Napoleon, although it technically like basically starts. I would say it basically starts, at least story wise, with essentially his first like military like big success. Like he led that attack to like take over that like what do they call it, like a Bastille or something. Uh but whatever it was, the fortress protecting the harbor, and then just use the cannons in the fortress to shoot the British ships. And like this action propels him politically into all the right circles in France. And then he, but I'd say a good portion of, like I could, you know what? Actually, no. When I was watching the movie, I had this criticism in my head of the fact that it kind of felt like the movie was pulling in a couple different like the movie didn't feel like it was sure if it was about like the epic war or if it was about the romance more. And then like the Napoleon quote that they close it out with, uh Napoleon's last words before he died were, you don't actually see this in the movie at all. Actually, this just tell you at after before the credits. But his last words were France, what was it, army, and Josephine. And I think what he was saying, just my theory on Napoleon's last words, is that he was basically listing in order like the things that he loved and felt loyalty to. And that made the movie kind of like click in my head when I realized that. Because in Napoleon, the movie is looking at itself from like, the movie's about the things that Napoleon cared the most about, with an emphasis more on, though, the army and, or he may have said the military, I can't remember, and Josephine, because those are really the major. I don't know. There is a lot of politics too, isn't there? You would agree it's a lot of politics?
Yeah, there was a lot of politics, but like, I don't know, the scenes like moved pretty well though. Like it would like just being an info dump, so that was nice.
You know, it has decent pacing. It has decent pacing. I would say near the end, it started to feel a little long. Okay, here's an interesting question. Which one would you say you liked more, Killers of the Flower Moon or Napoleon?
Or Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, no, I would say I would definitely give the edge to Killers of the Flower Moon. In terms of long historical movies that we recently saw, it's I understand that the ethical politics of the movie are a little complicated, but like the movie overall is very well done. Just some great performances in it, really. Napoleon, I would also say it was pretty well acted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't have like the star-studded cast of Killers of the Flower Moon, but what do you think of Josephine?
She was good.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought you did a good job. I like, so there's a scene in the movie where Josephine essentially, and Josephine is like, Josephine is the woman that Napoleon falls in love with, and Josephine is the wife of like a former high up person who basically gets executed during the French Revolution with the guillotine. And essentially they see each other at a party and he falls in love with her. The party is their, I just learned this term, meet cute. That's not true. I learned it like 2 months ago, but I haven't talked about it. So I'll say that I just learned it. But and it's actually very weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, every scene with them is awkward.
They're very awkward, strange couple. Kind of,
I mean, that divorce scene was not, was kind of dragged a little bit.
the divorce scene drags a little bit because, so like when we meet Josephine, she is like a mother of at least three. Like she's got her son and two daughters who like are barely in the movie, by the way. Like they are hardly there. Which, although to be fair, that might be because every time Josephine and and Napoleon are together, they're basically fighting or fucking. They just be awkward if the kids were there for that shit. They turn up later in the movie though. I noticed that. Although like it's kind of like you don't realize you're looking at her son at first. Like you're watching the scene and then suddenly it's like, oh, that guy's standing so close to her because that's her son. Okay. Oh, he's an adult now. Okay. He grew up to look like that. Interesting. I liked all the like little supporting like advisors and like military characters who who all came in and around Napoleon. I want to look up if he did in fact have a black military advisor, because my understanding of Napoleon is that he was very racist. So that would be interesting if that is true. That was the thing I was waiting to see if the movie would mention, which is that the French Revolution ended slavery in France, and then Napoleon brought slavery back. And I was wondering if they would be addressed in the movie, and they don't bring it up. But I get that. I don't know. It would be saying that Napoleon was racist be like just too much for the movie. Too much for the movie. Is that what they thought? Because it's not like the movie's trying to make Napoleon likable. In fact, arguably, one would worry that Napoleon is almost too relatable to like incel people. like like I could see him becoming like an incel hero in like the wrong way and like through bad interpretations of this movie. I could see that happening. Those would be bad interpretations of the movie. The movie is clearly making fun of Napoleon, and you are not supposed to feel that way. But like, yeah, no, most of the movie is him doing war, doing like minor politics, fighting and or fucking his wife. And that's the movie, really, if you think about it. At numerous little points, there were like just like little tiny things that made me think that the thing that Ridley Scott wanted me to just like think a little bit about Donald Trump. Nothing like very deliberate, but just like the way certain things are framed and like some of the things Napoleon says. It's like, oh, okay. Napoleon was kind of a proto-fascist. I get it. He's arrogant. He's obsessed with greatness. Big on patriotism.
I feel like they didn't explore more into how he's not from France.
I mean, that's a good point. All they really mention is that like the only thing they really mention is that there's a couple points where people call him a Corsican thug. Like that's the way foreign dignitaries view him. And like that's the only time they ever mention that he's from Corsica, which is interesting also. Like the movie does kind of like shave off like I guess in exchange for making a more like streamlined movie for the audience, it I guess they just felt like they had to shave off tons of the minor details or something, which I guess is fair. Like, who knows? Maybe there's a 4-hour cut of this movie somewhere. What do you think of the battle scenes?
They were good for the most part. The CGI gore was kind of shitty though.
Yeah, no. Like for most of the movie, it's kind of okay because admittedly, the movie has a lot of shaky cam. So like the CGI blood doesn't like isn't as noticeable in shaky cam. But like there's this one scene early on where like Napoleon's horse gets hit right in the chest with a cannonball and like the chest explodes outwards. And like it's very CGI. Like very, very CGI. It's like, oh, not even Napoleon can get good CGI nowadays. Come on, guys, this is Ridley Scott. Show some respect with your CGI. That looked terrible. The man did Blade Runner for God's sakes. And not even he can get good CGI nowadays. Oh, the poor CGI industry. They are badly abused, but hopefully unionizing. Anyways, so how would you describe Napoleon's fighting style?
Just kind of charging at people. It looked like.
Yeah, no. There's even a line in the movie about like he can't resist a full frontal assault. Like in certain ways, like in certain ways his character is portrayed as not being as smart as you would assume. Like it's clear that he like lets ego and stuff get in the way. And like, oh man, his war with Russia. Whew, that was rough.
Yeah.
Just like Napoleon's plan for Russia was to just throw bodies at it because he had lots of bodies he could throw at it. And the movie wanted us to know that like Napoleon like practically genocided his own side. Like in terms of like the numbers of casualties that were on his sides, even though he won most of his battles. He did it by throwing bodies at things. Like like so like one of the coolest scenes in the movie is there's this battle near a frozen lake. And like this is actually like probably one of the most genius plans that he has. But like even then, like the way it's set up is he essentially has a diversion section of his army who are out in front and are like if you're that guy in front, you are fucked. like this, like there's no like if you're in that section, like you have to know it's like okay, we're the heavy casualty section. All right, everybody, try your best. Everybody up on the hill is probably going to be fine. We're the ones that Napoleon has decided get the brunt of this attack. Even the guys on horses who are going to ride into this are in a better position than us. We're going to win, but most of us are going to die. It's like, damn. Like, yeah, no, I think the awkwardness of the sex was deliberate. It was very deliberate. I think that was the point of it. I will say I did believe he loved her, even though I considered their relationship to be kind of toxic. Oh, and that's the thing I was trying to mention earlier. So the point is, when Napoleon meets her, she has to be. I think she is older than him. I'm not sure about that, but like the implication is that she has teenage kids when she meets him. Like her youngest is this boy who is like 11 or 12. So like over the course of like a 15-year marriage, he is having trouble impregnating her. And like that is a major part of the movie is that he is just constantly frustrated by this. And like at one point he brings up that like she didn't even get pregnant during her affairs. It's not, but of course Napoleon's out banging whoever he wants too, is another thing. Although we're not really shown a lot of that, with the exception of the one girl. And even then, like it's in, it's implied that like he chooses to have sex with that woman in the dark because he's not really into it. It's just to test if his sperm works. Like that's like you have to wonder about what happened to that kid and that woman, because like essentially like this, she has to be like this peasant commoner woman who just got hired by well, I think that was that his mom who hired her to like come there and let this man ejaculate in her. And if she got pregnant, what what happens then? Like what? So yeah, no, that was interesting. The other thing about it is that like it's kind of portrayed that he is not the best at like hand-to-hand combat either. Like you see him like running in the fight scenes and like you can hear him going okay. He's like breathing hard the whole time. Like he is not in shape. But like I don't know. Like I did have like, so I guess I have kind of like a similar reaction to the movie as I had to Killers of the Flower Moon, which is that it it has strong performances. It is about a very serious topic, but at numerous points also surprised me with how funny it could be. Like the they tried to kill me. It's just, man, I yeah, no. Joaquin, this may be the funniest character I've ever seen Joaquin Phoenix play. Like and the thing about it is it's not really played for laughs. Like he plays it straight. Like this is not like I'm saying it's funny, but like it's not cartoonishly funny in any way. Like it's, don't get me wrong, that there are things that are meant to be awkward, but that's as cartoonish as it gets. It's just like the awkwardness of like some of his moments and interactions. Also, they fucked in front of those servants under that table. Yeah. Like he just did not give a fuck. I wish I like I've seen the actors who played a lot of the characters in other things, but they're but I don't actually know any of those actors' names. Um, but I did really enjoy all of the performances from the like I said before, the general like military characters he would interact with. Oh my god, let's talk about the Tsar. Oh my god. So like one of Napoleon's like political nemesis in this movie is the Tsar of Russia, who is just this like young guy, like I'm assuming like 18 in his like late teens, early 20s from the implication of the movie. And like in their first like battle against each other, like Napoleon just wrecks the Tsar's armies, just wrecks them with the whole lake thing. And then so the Tsar is pissed at him. But then later, Russia's getting mad at the English, so they meet to become allies. But then the Russians backstab him and ally with the British instead. And so that starts the whole thing where he declares war on Russia and throws 600,000 French and Austrian soldiers at Russia, ultimately wins, but in a completely unprofitable way, and where he loses like the casualty percentiles are like in the 80s% or something. It's crazy how much of his army he had to throw at Russia to win. Oh my god. And then after that, after Napoleon gets banished for this action to the island of Elba, the Tsar shows up to essentially court his ex-wife, aka the only woman he ever truly loved, while Napoleon is in exile. So Napoleon's like, "Fuck this! I'm not. I don't want to just be some minor political power on some no-name island. I'm going back." And so he goes back, and part of his gamble is correct, which is that he thinks that the French army will side with him, and he is shockingly correct. Like they are ready to shoot him, and he's just like, "Dudes, let's do this." And they're like, "Fuck yeah! Long live the emperor!" And it's like they are remarkably easily swayed, and it's because that one guy in like the middle section, that one guy, first guy to put his gun down, first guy to go, "Yeah." That guy led it. That guy, because of that guy, Napoleon got the army on his side. I wouldn't be hilarious if like Napoleon planted that guy. But like, and so then they have the Battle of Waterloo, and Napoleon he just he knows he needs to beat the British before the Prussian army gets there, but it just won't fucking stop raining. Did you know it rains a lot in that part of the world?
Yes, I did.
And then he has to fight an uphill battle against the British, and like literally uphill.
Probably muddy as shit too.
Yeah, muddy as shit. The British have all the advantage in the world, and the Prussians are coming. And of course, it's his only dramatic military failure. And it was actually pretty interesting to see some of the tactics in the movie. I'd love to see one of those videos where the like historical experts evaluate battle scenes. You see those on YouTube and whatnot. I'd love to see someone do one of those so I could find out how accurate those very interesting tactics were. Because when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that seems like a questionable formation." But then, like as the battle continued, it was like, "Oh, because if a horse jumps them, that person is immediately surrounded from the inside. So like you need to break the formation, but if you break the formation and you get inside the formation, they just close on you." It was like, oh shit, I understand why this is your defense against horses now. But so ultimately he gets exiled again, only this time in a shittier situation. Like he essentially trades having a cushy government job on some no-name island to, with like 200 million
Yeah,
francs a year.
they gave lots of money.
It's like, hey, you don't get to be emperor anymore. Take all this fucking money. Like, it makes you wonder how bad inflation was at the time. But yeah, no, he gets offered. And instead of that, no, he gets like, okay, you get a handful of servants and you're living on this island, but the island this time it's off of Africa. And, and it's basically a rock. But you'll live there semi-comfortably until you die. And then he dies. I don't feel bad giving these weird spoilers because it is a historical thing.
Yeah, you know what's gonna happen when you go into
like, I'm sure I haven't said anything that wasn't in the Wikipedia. But yeah, Napoleon.
I've been to that dude's grave.
Oh yeah, what's it like?
It's in a building.
It's in a building.
Yeah, and it's just like this weird looking coffin in the middle of a room with like a bunch of light around it, and like it's a museum. But yeah, well, its body's in that weird looking coffin. It's like, hey, look at this guy.
So, what did you think of the? So that. So, what do you think of the movie as a European American? I mean, you were born in Belgium.
Dude, I haven't been back to Europe in so long. Like I'm almost completely disconnected from it. But I remember seeing it was like, yep, that's Europe. That looks like Europe.
When did you? How old were you when you saw Napoleon's grave?
Oh shit, I was like 8, maybe.
Oh wow. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, so you were pretty young when you saw that.
Yeah.
They didn't really have any French in the movie, so I can't ask you.
Yeah. Aside from that one, I was that an Austrian guy that somebody said something in German.
Yeah. I think it was the Austrian guy.
Yeah.
Like, like I felt like there was like some details that we weren't like quite getting there, but like it seemed like he was very offended that Napoleon was proposing to this chick. So it really, oh, and then there, oh fuck, there's that scene where like where he tries to propose to like the czar's sister, and he's like, I'm sorry, man, my sister's spoken for. And he's like, well, what about her younger sister? And he's like, dude, my that my, that's my youngest sister. She is 15. And he's like, yeah. What's wrong with that? It's like, oh Jesus Christ, Napoleon. I mean, I understand back then that actually wasn't considered that weird in a lot of cultures, especially French. But like still like it was kind of a funny, awkward, like terrible scene. But not terrible isn't like the scene was badly done. Just like, oh god, Napoleon. Oh, the incels are gonna love that. God damn it. It's hemophilia, guys. There's a difference. Technically, yes. However, if you are an adult, you probably should not be having sex with teenagers, even if it's legal in your state. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. It's irresponsible. But anyways, enough about that creepy weird scene. Uh yeah, fucking Napoleon. Trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning. Did you I'm not super up on my history, but do you know anything about Napoleon history enough to know if there was anything out of place, so to speak?
Everything seemed right. I didn't look into history on that, but
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not a super expert on it, but like from the little I know of Napoleon, it seemed to all like line up with the. It was more like there were just tiny things missing, like I said before, like details that were streamlined for the sake of brevity from like the history of Napoleon. Uh, but even with all that streamlined, it's still 2 hours and 38 minutes of movie, which is Shorter than Killers of the Flower Moon. Shorter than Killers of the Flower Moon.
I feel
Which
like Killers of the Flower Moon moved better though.
yes, Killers of the Flower Moon had better pacing. Like I would say that's a distinctive difference between the two movies. It it did have better pacing. Oh, they both center on a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Although like in Kills of the Flower Moon, the toxicity actually feels kind of one-sided. You're like, oh, she's just in love with him and he's a moron who's poisoning her. Uh but in this one it's like, oh no, you guys are just very volatile together. You have just very toxic negative relationship where it's both sided. It's both sided in Napoleon. All righty. Well, you think of anything else about the
Remember
movie?
that one scene when there was like some kind of like gathering and there were just dogs lying down on the floor in the middle of it all? I could not
Vaguely.
I could not suspend disbelief for that. I was like, that would never happen in real life.
Oh, you mean the when she was walking through the party carrying a small dog in her
No,
arm?
there were dogs lying down on the floor in the middle of like some kind of like meeting or something where there was a lot of food. But that is the most unrealistic part of this movie.
Dogs behaving themselves. Impossible.
And Napoleon was nice to the dogs though. I remember thinking that was interesting.
Do we know if Napoleon liked dogs?
Probably.
He
I,
probably.
I, I think there's a painting of him where he has a dog with him.
You know what? There's a thing that should have been more of in the movie: Italian greyhounds. They should have had Italian greyhounds in the movie for because the French army were used to use those to chase rats out of tents and so on. There's an interesting thought. Like, you don't immediately look at an Italian greyhound and go, this dog was bred for killing rats. You look at one and you're like, this thing looks like a rat.
Yorkshire Terriers are bred for killing rats. I can't picture. I mean, I've seen Yorkies get violent before. It's just now they're all small and really inbreds. They got joint issues. You could kill a rat now.
God.
Scottish Terrier, any kind of terrier is pretty much bred to kill rats or some kind of vermin.
Noise. I mean, not nice. That's weird. Sorry. Uh, all right, no. All right, there's a thing. Okay. So like it is ultimately fucked up. It's kind of fucked up when they ultimately have the divorce. Um, because like Napoleon and this chick really don't seem like they want to get a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to
For France.
for France. Which that make that's France is first. His duty is to France, the military, and his wife, and that's where his loyalties lay. But yeah, so France was on top, so he had to divorce her. That's too bad for him. Like how this is a weird question, but like in the context of other things that happened in the film, how old do you think his second wife was?
Teens, I'd assume. Like
Mhm.
that's how things were back then.
Yeah, no, like they don't specifically say, and like, which is interesting because the whole conversation about the czar's sister. Uh,
Oh no, she was Austrian.
yeah, no, I know it wasn't her. That wasn't the czar's sister. I'm just saying, like, in the
Yeah.
context of the fact that they had that conversation earlier, it makes you like it makes it suspicious. Then she goes and she lives on that estate with a salary. Like they should have like, and your wife will get 1 million francs a year to live in a giant mansion. Your ex-wife now. Then, oh yeah, and so he gets the. I mean, obviously she is younger than She is young. Obviously, she is younger than his previous wife, because even though the movie never says it, she is probably she is almost definitely in her 40s by the time that the divorce happens. Almost definitely. I mean, like, I'm not sure how old she was previously, but she's got to be in her 40s by then. What was her name? The Austrian princess. I mean, I don't remember it.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia page now. It should say. Uh, Mary Louise of Austria, I think.
Mary Louise of Austria. I'm morbidly curious what they're, but like this is the thing I'm talking about. It's just like the movie kind of does read like Napoleon is kind of what back in the PC days of the 90s we probably would have called a dweeb. Just a violent dweeb.
And just obsessed with conquering or like telling people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that just reminded me of the whole Egypt thing.
Yeah.
With like, is it weird that I thought he was gonna eat a piece of the mummy?
It's kind of weird that he touched the mummy's face. Yeah.
And like,
I was like, oh man, if anything's gonna give you a curse, that's gonna give you a curse.
and like and like and like he's like when he steps down from the mummy and like he gestures to like the other military guy to like check it if he wants to check it out, and that guy just like stands there to like
Yeah.
he does not check it out. So, so like even to some people like he was just weird. Like, oh, that's another thing I want to know now is that like if he like got any kind of type of did any type of revenge on that guy who was banging his wife while he was in Africa.
Because they showed him in the crowded places a couple of times.
Like, I think we know why she was having affairs, though, guys.
Yeah.
We saw that.
Yeah, he was so bad at sex. It was
Like, so bad, so bad at sex. There you go. There's the tagline. Napoleon, good at war, bad at sex. All right. Well, there's no point in dragging it out. All right. Any final closing statements?
Not really. It's exactly what I thought it would be for the most part.
I
I was surprised there was so much fucking. Like it's just that honestly.
And awkward fucking too.
And then he goes, I just remember that one part where he's like writing to her over and over again. He's not getting anything back.
Oh, right. While she's having the affair, she's not writing it back.
This was after he did bad sex. They were the first time.
And like, and he's like, there aren't any snakes in your bed, right? And then after that, someone tells him that she's having an affair, and he's like, no, she's not. No, she's not. Nah. It's like, dude. But the thing is, like, he is already insecure about the fact that might be happening. And then there's the scene where he's like, I am not insecure. dude, you're insecure. Oh man, I've forgotten about that. Yeah, no, yeah. I'd say overall, it's a solid movie. I do think that hilariously, it could be people people who misunderstand media a lot could misunderstand that they're not supposed to relate to.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to like anybody in that movie.
A lot of them are terrible. A lot of them are terrible people. Like the coolest guy, the coolest guy in the movie was that one political dude that previously like helped start the revolution, and he and like when they came to do the when essentially when they do the coup, they that guy's just like, fine, I'll be a citizen again. I'm not gonna fight you. And then everyone else on the council is like, what? No, I'm eating breakfast. You can't do this to me. Like, if you just said I agree, you could have finished your breakfast. Which is almost the exact same thing that happens when Napoleon comes back and someone goes to tell the new ruler of France, that he's back. He's, he's just like eating food, and he's like, more of that, more of that. It's like, yeah, not pretty tumultuous times in France. You see, people, that's the problem. We got to defend our democracy. We got to protect our democracy, because the periods of time between between a destabilized government becoming a regularly stabilized government is a long fucking time with a lot of fucking war and death. And that's what fucking happens with Napoleon. Revolution happens, and then him and some other people destabilize that, and then he takes over as emperor, and then he gets banished, so there's new rulers. It just, it's a mess. It's a mess. You don't want that. It's a mess. Okay. All right. Any other final words?
Nah, I just like that one saver. Writing letters, not getting it back, and being a little wuss about it. Meanwhile, he's conquering Egypt. It's like, why won't you write to me?
That reminds. So that near the end of the movie, like, I realized, like, at the end of the movie, when he's having his, like, and it's not like, I assume he was right. It's meant to be writings of his or something. Maybe the letters are even real. That's the fucked up thing.
I'm pretty sure I learned about that in history class. Like, you have to write. Man, that's so weird. Writing your ex-wife that much.
Oh yeah, no, because he never stopped loving her. He just got a divorce because he needed a woman that he could put a baby in. And that's the fucked up thing about royalty, man. But the scene where she shows him this, like the scene where she like shows him her vagina, and you don't see her vagina, by the way. But see, she like opens up her dress, and she's like, if you look down, you'll see a surprise I have for you, and once you see it, you'll always want it. And like, you see him like look down at it, and like at the end of the movie, he's writing her, and it's like, oh, it's true. It's true. He saw it, and he never stopped wanting that pussy. Not a sick, like, even though he is bad at sex, like, dude, that sex could be better for you also, you freaking weirdo. Even though he's terrible at it, he never wanted to stop having it with this woman. Were you there when Napoleon was banging Her Majesty under the table? I was. All 45 seconds of it. All 45 loud seconds of it. Sounded like a wet jackhammer. Wait, what's a jackhammer? Just an anachronism. All right. Well, thank you for listening, anyone who listened this far. Please subscribe and follow on both Spotify, and I have a support link on my on Spotify if you want to support the podcast. I am officially broke enough to no longer have any shame about asking for money. But anyways, you can also email the show at rubenuncut and at gmail.com. And also check out the YouTube that I forgot to mention a second ago. All right. Say goodbye, Gato.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Have a fantastic whenever, wherever you are.